Hey, what's going on? It's Monday. We got a show of Miles Davis today, as usual, celebrating the live album live at Carnegie Hall from May of 1961. This features his great quintet with Hank Mobley in it and the Gil Evans Orchestra, a 21-piece band. This was released later in the year 61. These sessions, this live concert was done just after Someday My Prince Will Come, which is the last album that John Coltrane would play on that title track. And this is very good. You know, Miles has a lot of 60s live albums. And check out this cover. We're still wondering what that green thing is. You can see Miles there, right? I don't know if it's a dragon. The world doesn't know. You know, again, Miles has a ton of live albums going forward in the 60s. And, you know, maybe this isn't the best of them. I don't think history has suggested that it is. Certainly there's some audio issues. It is produced by Tio Mercero, again recorded on May 19th of 61 and not released until July of 62. So excuse me, Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb, Wynton Kelly, Hank Mobley, who's also on Someday My Prince Will Come along with Coltrane. And of course, Miles, a 21-piece orchestra. This thing starts off with the Kind of Blue classic and the Miles Davis penned classic, So What? A little bit sped up, certainly from the Kind of Blue era. You hear some orchestra popping in really early. It almost sounds like a movie, action movie, 60s riff with the orchestra so big, and then the orchestra kind of disappears. You know, Miles is in top form. He's articulate and powerful and fast. Cobb is well recorded here. Really like Jimmy Cobb on this whole album. It's a remarkable take. Mobley's not particularly fantastic on it, but it's good enough on the classic So What, and it's a 12-minute version. It's nice. The rhythm section, at this point, it had been together since 1958. You know, you do insert Bill Evans for a while there in 58 into early 59 when they do Kind of Blue, but of course Wynton's there as well. So we have a long running rhythm section here by the spring of 61. The next track is Spring Is Here. Again, the orchestra works much better on the Spring Is Here. It's just a whimsical, classical sound. Miles with an orchestra. And I tend to like Miles with Gil Evans. You know, this got expanded in 1998 onto a double disc. There's a lot more there. This particular LP, you know, just doesn't have a lot of orchestra. But, you know, it's a good mix of the quintet as just a quintet and orchestra. Gorgeous ballad, Spring Is Here, the Rodgers and Hart song. And, you know, Kelly just absolutely kills on the whole album. No Blues is next. Another Miles Davis song, formerly called Francing, I guess, after his wife, beautiful Frances Taylor. No Blues, you know, Mobley's not loud enough in the mix, I don't think. Does a really nice solo. Just wish he was a little bit louder. I feel like the rhythm section's loud in this whole album. Kelly just wins the day again. The whole rhythm section with Chambers. You know, Ron Carter seems to get a lot of run as a great bass player in Miles's history. Let's not forget about Paul Chambers, maybe the most important bass player in his history, because a lot of, you know, what happened afterwards is people following in the footsteps of Paul Chambers, and Paul Chambers was fantastic. Nice long solo by Kelly on No Blues, a 10.5-minute song. He really owns that song. And it's just bright, and you can hear every note played so well. The next song is a Sonny Rollins song, Oleo. You know, probably the highlight of the album for me. Spunky, fast and furious. Miles as fast as ever. I mean, Dizzy Gillespie has nothing on Miles here. Chambers is showing the way, showing why he's one of the best bass players of the jazz era, the classic jazz era, really, right? And again, Kelly's solo. Maybe Kelly's solo is a little bit buried in the mix here. You know, Mobley has a nice long 4-minute solo on Oleo. It's really one of the highlights of the record. Again, is Oleo, classic Sonny Rollins stuff. Someday My Prince Will Come. It's too short. It's less than 3 minutes long on that gorgeous song that you could really win on. Again, earlier in '61, Miles did the Someday My Prince Will Come studio album, features this great quintet, plus John Coltrane. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe one of the only Coltrane, Mobley, Miles dates of record. You know, obviously they're well rehearsed on this song. It could have gone much longer, in my opinion. And then the last song, The Meaning of the Blues, New Rumba and Lament. The orchestra is here again, doing an awesome job. Miles kind of whispers at the beginning over the orchestra. Then he starts shouting with his horn over the orchestra. You know, just an immense feel in his playing here. Telling stories. He's telling his side of what the blues are. His perspective on the blues. And he certainly has a long history with blues music. Again, one of the highlights of the album is the last track. You know, Miles would not record again in the year 1961. Quiet Nights was then recorded in the summer of '62, and Miles said no. He didn't want that music put out. I think it was finally put out in the '70s. Cobb, Chambers, and Kelly would leave at the end of '62 to form their trio. Sonny Rollins would join them a little bit too. But these are the last days, really, of the first great quintet. And I know it can be confusing when you got Cannonball Adderley sometimes in there, and you got Coltrane sometimes in there, and you got, you know, Jimmy Heath sometimes in there in late '59 and '60, and Mobley and people like that. But really, one of the glue to the quintet is Paul Chambers, and you know, he's there through the Red Garland years. He's there through the Philly Joe Jones years. This is some of the last hurrah of that before we get into things like, you know, 7 Steps to Heaven and things like that. Anyway, we are going to pick out a record for next week. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And it's going to be Miles in the Sky. Yeah, recorded in January of '68, released in May of '68. So we're getting kind of into the pre-fusion era of Miles by Miles in the Sky. I want to say that George Benson plays on the song Paraphernalia, which is the first guitar player ever to play with Miles Davis, to my knowledge. Of course, John McLaughlin would take that a step further just that next year in 1969. Anyway, we'll catch you later. See ya. Peace.